Hi there, William Hohauser here. And journey on with me, this extraterrestrial adventure. Let's have a close encounter from November of 1978 with the pink UFO. Boo! This one is a very special one from Dave Dedich. It's his first Pink Panther directorial effort. He was a production supervisor in the 60s on a number of Pink Panther cartoons, but this is the first time they let him helm one of these cartoons, and quite frankly, the results makes me think of Plan 9 from Outer Space. I'll get into that in a little while, but first, more about Dave Dedich. His earliest listed credits is as storyman on the very obscure Disney cartoon series Humphrey Bear. He later moved on to television animation, did writing for the 1960s Warner Brothers animation theatricals, wrote for the 1960 Mr. Magoo TV series, directed a very obscure animated Western feature called The Man from Button Willow, directed the animated Three Stooges TV series, was a co-director on the animated feature Shinbone Alley. Hey, what happened to the roof in the doghouse? More on that later. While at DePatie Freleng, Dedich provided the stories for a number of pretty good Pink Panther cartoons, so there's that. He also wrote for other DePatie Freleng theatrical series, such as The Ant and the Aardvark and The Dogfather. He also wrote for the DePatie Freleng produced Warner Brothers cartoons, and for the DePatie Freleng TV series, he wrote on Baggy Pants and the Nitwits, What's New, Mr. Magoo, and he was also a director on an episode of Dr. Dolittle and some episodes of The Barkleys. So by 1977, DePatie Freleng probably thought that they had a rather competent and trustworthy person to ask to come in and direct a few Pink Panther cartoons. Well, how wrong they were. Look, what's this? What's going on? Now, if you go back and review that scene, if you feel so inclined to go to that effort, you'll notice that the table that the fly had previously been put on while captured in that net is missing from the shot. While we can debate the merits of the concepts of the story here by Dave Dedich, we certainly can all agree that this is probably the most technically incompetent Pink Panther film that was ever made by DePatie Freleng. It's certainly a tie with one of the DePatie Freleng theatrical Blue Racer cartoons, which were produced out of the country, but you'll have to go buy that set to make your own judgment. And I'm not getting super picky and nerdy from my comfortable chair that I'm doing this from, although nerdy I will admit to, and this chair I'm sitting in is rather comfortable. There are many famous cartoons out there, theatrical or television, that there's a mistake here and there that they just let go by because it didn't really change anything and just wasn't noticeable by a general audience. They hoped. The technical mistakes in this cartoon just start coming on stronger and stronger until the very end. The beginning's much better. It's like somebody just threw their hands up in the air and said, "Oh, who cares? This is what the director wanted." And how could I say that? Oh, by the way, notice this? I think the Panther was supposed to be pulled by the fly into the TV set, not for the fly to come up from behind them after he hits it. Weird. So how did the errors that you see in this cartoon occur? Greg Ford and I were watching this sort of aghast because we'd never seen a DePatie Freleng cartoon with this level of incompetence, and we discussed it. And we came to a conclusion, or more, he came to a conclusion because my experience is in TV animation and Greg worked in theatricals and knew what he was talking about. Greg's conclusion was then confirmed by DePatie Freleng director Art Leonardi, who explained to us the workings of how theatricals were created in the 60s and 70s at DePatie Freleng. Every cartoon studio, be it theatrical or television production, has its own method. Hey, that sell's not quite over the cake. And the method at DePatie Freleng was that the director was in charge of the placement of everything. Now watch this. Coming up right now. Oy! What happened to the refrigerator? That was the first shot that really alerted me that there was something really going off here. So what happened? How did that refrigerator get tilted to the side, and why was it left that way by the camera person? Let me explain. At the Patty Freeling, the director was supposed to complete the exposure sheet. A very large sheet. Oh, look at this. Zap. Hey, the chair didn't go away, but he fell out of the chair that was still there. The exposure sheet, or sheets for a full cartoon, was a grid with every frame having its own row, all the cells and backgrounds and other items having their own columns, and it had to be filled out completely by the director. Okay, watch this. Zap. Door gone. Door's back, but the ray seems to go through the door that's not supposed to be there. Up, door's gone again. Film editor Joe Siracusa saw this finished print of a cartoon, said, wait a minute, what's going on with the door? So he added a door opening sound so it would seem less weird. All the problems we're seeing could be the result of missing or incorrect information for the camera person. So the conclusion is that we're seeing the result of a poorly written exposure sheet. Now, to give Dave Dedich the benefit of a doubt, writing an exposure sheet is not easy, and you really sort of have to get used to it to do it correctly. And there's no telling at this time that if at his previous directorial jobs, he was required to fill one out. Hey, what happened to the outside? I guess it was just painted on the wall. In the end, camera person Ray Lee did what he saw on the exposure sheets. Dedich left for Warner Brothers the next year, and the Panther decided to walk away from the whole thing in disgust. This is William Hohauser, thanking you for enduring this whole thing with me.